Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Science of Superpowers. I'm Tonya Dawn Recla, and so glad you're joining us again for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking all about oneness. I recently spoke with Rabbi Rami Shapiro all about the Lamed Vavnik. It was a concept that I was unfamiliar with. It was super cool to hear that perspective. And for those of you who aren't aware, it speaks to a tradition coming out of Judaism that there are 36 enlightened beings at any given time on the planet or more, right? And so make sure you go and check out that episode when it comes forward and what the implications are of that. It's a really cool tradition to learn about. And I was able to kind of sit with it. And the reason why I wanted to have that conversation with him was as I was going through his space, it really spoke to me, really resonated, right? Most of my background is in the Messianic traditions. And so it was a new sort of lens that I wasn't familiar with. I viewed through lots of different lenses, and this one was a nice addition in terms of the potentiality of what we look at when we think of oneness, right? And any of you who follow Justin and I in our journey in the podcast show Apple Flavored Pomegranate, where we were looking at concepts of oneness, we spoke a lot about our marriage and how we set about sort of looking at discovering oneness together and how we move into that space. And a lot of what we discovered was oneness and wholeness are so amazingly intricately connected. And the path to oneness really does move us through wholeness. And we're in pursuit of that constantly in our relationship. And it's confusing, right? We throw around the term oneness a lot. And it's like, what does that mean? And when we're talking about energetics, right? Well, when you look at the energetic communication, how we interact with each other, the dynamics that are occurring in organizations, in interpersonal relationships and families, it's messier than just saying, oh, oneness, right? We've got major social issues at hand that we have to take a look at, from gender to race to religion to whole constructs of the government to our entire world perspective, right? What are our goals moving forward? Like, how are we all going to share this planet together when we don't even have the same goal in mind, right? Some kind of big questions that we're sitting with at this point in time as a globe. And in that is this idea of oneness, right? We're similar. We feel sameness, like we know there are connections, but we also know that when things get heated up, we like to forget those connections, right? And so how do we talk about pursuing oneness and building worlds in these co-creative environments that allow for that concept to be present, but also take into account the very human dynamics we're working with? Right? Superpower experts, we're in pursuit of solving for that human condition in co-creative environments. And how we go about that is looking at those vibrational levels. So where we are entangling, where we're connecting, what are the dynamics that are really occurring in those subtle spaces. Those inform everything about how our avatars, how our humans behave and how they interact with each other. It's very different than how we're being on the inside. And yet it's very similar, right? There's this reflective quality to it. When you understand those nuances, you can work with it a little bit more easily to maneuver it. But ultimately, those aren't coming up in most everyday conversations, right? And so when we talk about oneness, I think there's a lot of assumptions that we're talking about the same thing, and we're not talking about the same thing, folks. You go back to all of the studies of social identities and group out group dynamics and what happens when we make assumptions about our worldviews, our time-space orientations, right? We teach geolocating and time-space continuums because we're dealing in multidimensional environments, folks. We've got people evolving through the material environment. We've got people evolving through the vibrational environment. We've got people tackling concepts of oneness while others are trying to tackle concepts of self-actualization. Like, everybody's in different spaces and the words mean different things depending on where you identify in that moment, right? And so we should be really considerate when we're discussing things like the nature of our existence or the nature of humanity moving forward, or who are we, or what happens when we die, or where do we go from here, or what's possible, or is apocalypse really coming, like what is Jesus returning, like all of these fear, like what's going on inside of us. And talking about it starts to help it make a little bit more sense. It certainly helps to know that you're not the only one thinking about these things. If you're kind of wondering if you're going a little bit crazy right now because your realities aren't matching up very well, You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Everybody on some level that we have interacted with in some capacity over the last few years has asked themselves some question about what is going on here? Who am I? What is the nature of reality, right? These big questions. No wonder we're a little bit uncomfortable, right? No wonder we're a little bit like our fuses are just a little bit shorter than they might have been, I don't know, prior to 2020, right? I think it's to be expected. So what can we do with this, right? And we're talking about oneness. And at the heart of it, what we have discovered in our decades of research across incredible cultural boundaries is that we do all want the same thing, whether we are able to truly access that inside of ourselves, whether we're able to tap into that, right? Name it, call it, like it's evasive, it's fluid, but it is this awareness of love, peace, connection, calm, hope, a moment, right? A breath, appreciation, a reflection, an understanding, a creative expression that gets appreciated, a hug, a smile, a kind word, an understanding, right? Gesture. Those moments, it's the moments we're seeking, and we have all kinds of funny ways of asking for them, all kinds of funny ways, because we're not real comfortable saying things like, I could really use some comfort right now. And comfort looks like this for me. Maybe it's a hug. Maybe it's just, hey, I'm not feeling comfortable right now. I'm going to feel into why that might be. Right? Rather than continuing from that place or allowing it to have you create into realities that you actually don't want. And we do that a lot because we don't know how to talk about these things, right? In a comfortable way. It's understandable. So when we talk about concepts of oneness, we have a really hard time imagining us ever getting there because we have a really hard time ever imagining us getting there inside of ourselves. We know that pieces of us don't agree. We know that pieces of us are embattled. We know we don't agree. We know we're not totally sure who we are because we have conflicting viewpoints and we don't really want to admit that to anybody. We don't want to talk about it because we honor and respect consistency. But I will tell you this, we are consistent in our inconsistencies. We have contradiction. We don't know how to harmonize inside of ourselves. That's why you find yourself on one hand talking from this point of view and then on the next talking from this point of view, and you're like, oh wait, what am I doing? Like I must be crazy, or maybe I don't have a viewpoint, or oh, what's wrong with me, right? And we go into all of the judgment stuff. You are both, right? You are both. Until you really know something, you go back and forth, like ding, 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 like a little pinball machine, like, right? Pinging all over the place. How do I want to feel about this? What do I want to think about this? What's the program I want to implement? Like this. That's happening all the time with all this data that's flooding into our systems. You know you're not operating in oneness inside of yourself. So stop pretending. Stop pretending that we can pursue it outside of ourselves if we can't accomplish it inside of ourselves. And here's the kicker, you can't accomplish it inside of yourself. Not without understanding that you're both and accepting that. And that's when you start to play with wholeness. Wholeness, get to wholeness. I'm both. I'm both. I both really, really agree with that. And I both really, really disagree with it. And that's weird. It's weird because I can actually understand that perspective that I don't want to admit. I have a hard time, right, coming up with solutions to back my suggestion, but I'm not willing to hear other people's solutions. Right? All of that stuff that goes on because we don't know how to get ourselves to agree inside. That's what the world is for. All that stuff that we don't know how to fix inside of ourselves, we get to play out with everyone else. Yay, thanks for playing the game. That's how it works. So, okay, got it. Develop the self. right? Know thyself. If you're not in management energetically in situations, know thyself, right? Continue to hold that vision of oneness, whatever that looks like for you. We don't know. Have we seen it? Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you know. That's for you. That's in your world, right? However that looks for you. Can we talk about it? Do we use the same words? Do we all want the same thing? No, it looks very different on the surface for all of us. And that's what kind of twists it up for us, right? How it materializes, how it actualizes, that's creative expression. Choose. Play where you want to play. But it's driven underneath by that connectivity, the threads that connect all of us. Can't name them, right? We try, we build constructs around them, we talk about them. To understand them, we kind of have to build constructs to talk about them, but ultimately they defy words, symbols even. Beyond that, you just know. You just know. And the way you get to just knowing is you start with, who am I? Who am I in this equation? Observing thyself. And if you don't know how to do that, or you'd like to up your game a little bit in that because you've been trying to surf some waves and then you're going, right? Swallowing a lot of seawater there, then you probably want to up your techniques a little bit, right? You might be in a new energetic environment that requires some upgraded processes. It happens all the time. That's a good sign. You moved, right? Get new processes, right? Learn how to observe yourself in situations. Learn how to understand what these really subtle signals are that you're getting back. Adjust, right? Subtle movements. Go right this way, and there goes right around you, right? You can play there, you know that, right? Manage the energy and come back to self. And that's that pursuit of oneness, right? It's quite the dangle, right? The idea that we can come together, that we can create a world that allows for everybody's free creative expression, right? That's a pretty tall order, but I tell you, there's some of us who can see it. We know how to do it. We're very creative beings. You know, we know how to come together, how to have discussions. We do. We can do this, right? Kindergartners know how to do this, right? Pretty simple. Play nicely. Don't say mean things. The process is one that walks you through that wholeness component, right? And so when we talk about oneness and when we're able to sit back for a moment and see that individuated expression within it, it means we're able to see ourselves as all of that. And that's how you start to harmonize those contradictions. When the episode comes out with Rabbi Rami, make sure you check it out. The walk, right? The idea of choosing or not choosing, right? Is this fate? Is it not fate? Who knows this stuff? Who doesn't know this stuff? Who's compelled to follow? Who's not? Who sees the light? Who doesn't? Who knows? Who's attuned to it? Who isn't? Right? The resonance. We've come up with a lot of different stories over the eons about that. Discover it for yourself, right? Learn the tools, learn the techniques. Don't take anyone else's word for it. Don't believe things unless you run it through your own system, unless you have the tools to run it through your own system to know truth. Truth is truth is truth. How you understand truth is unique to you. How it gets translated in your system is unique to you. Your own custom direction is unique to you. That's a co-creative relationship with creation itself, however you hold that. That's you. But we live together. And so we endeavor to come up with ways of talking about that experience that's very personal with each other to create worlds that allow for more expression of that experience. There's training and work that goes into that, and the rewards are huge. So encompass that conversation of oneness, wholeness in a much, much, much bigger perspective, all while drilling into that very micro level of ultimately it's all in you. Come into oneness for yourself, in yourself. Accept your contradictions. You're a hot mess. Got it. You're not fooling anyone. We're all a hot mess. Let's just start there. I'm a hot mess. That's not all I am. It's not all I am. It's not all you are. Let's remember that piece. And we'll deal with the hot mess. Very different game when we choose to go about it that way. So make sure you check out the episode with Rabbi Rami Shapiro. His work over in the world of bringing together and tying together all of these beautiful traditions in ways that give us like stuff to choose from. There's lots to choose from, right? Don't settle for something that's mediocre to you. That's like a meh. You don't want a meh theory running your life. Meh, like no thanks. Meh doesn't do creative expression. Meh doesn't leave your mark. Meh doesn't, and mean you move. Make your mark, folks. Trust me when I say, like, not everybody picks up a video and starts talking on social media. That's not the goal. Making your mark is for you. However you do that in your world, your creative expression. There's lots of places to shine on right now. Lots and lots and lots and lots. Lots and lots and lots and lots. Shine there, but it's unique to you, right? Discover that. And that's where that light comes through. All right, good enough. Beyond next time, remember who you are. We love you. Love each other. Goodbye for now.